Good afternoon. Okay, so the topic today is discounting. How many of you love discounts? Okay, everyone. Do you love to give discounts or you like to get discounts? Yeah, right. So there's a difference between the two. Let me start with a video. Okay, now before we talk about discounting, there are a few precursors to discount which are important to understand. And I'll take you very briefly through this and then again get to the main topic. The first thing which you need to do is understand need, want, and demand. And by the way, there are differences between need, want, and demand. Right? Need is a hunger, right? Like the guy in the restaurant who ordered something, but he ordered a fillet. I might want a chicken curry, you might want a sushi, right? It's the same need, but want is different. But I might say, yes, the chicken curry is good, but it's too expensive and I don't want to pay for it, right? So that's where demands comes in. So you really need to qualify and understand and get into the customer's head on need, want, and demand. Now, the second thing is positioning value or price. How many of you negotiated with the clothes guy, the Bombay silk guy outside when you were buying? Very good, DK. Okay. Would you negotiate with the hotel guy? Did you negotiate with the hotel guy when you ordered a glass of wine or coffee? Now, why is that? That's because they have positioned themselves, in fact, trained you not to negotiate with them. And this is where many startups or companies go wrong, because they start their positioning without pegging in their value, right? We can deep dive into it later on, but it's super important to position your value at the right at the right level. Now, let's suppose you've got your need, want, and demand sorted, you've positioned your value, then you come to price. Right? Now, price is important. Price is not a number. There are four elements of pricing, what we call the four wheels of pricing, which is the scope, trigger, T&Cs, and then in the end, you should look at the price. Never, ever touch a number or a price until and unless you have looked at the scope, the trigger, as well as the T&Cs, right? If you're selling an apple, you won't price the same half apple or a full apple at the same price, right? You need to look at the scope. The triggers are super important. If suppose you have a plane and you're selling an engine, the plane can cost 30 or 40 million, but you could also sell as a subscription, which is per flight hour, which is 20,000, right? So triggers are super important. Are you selling as one time, or is it a subscription? Is it a X as a service, pay as you grow, pay as you use, pay as you configure? There are hundreds of ways of triggers. And T&Cs, which is the fourth wheel of pricing, is probably most important of all of them. By the way, you can see, I didn't want to get into pricing. It's a separate module for 2 days. But remember this picture of the four wheels of pricing, especially T&Cs. I'll touch upon it briefly when we talk about discounting. And only if you've got that, then you come to a number. Right? Now, pricing is complex, and you need to make sure that you have a commercial strategy going forward over a number of years on how you price. You need to get to your value propositions. You need to know what your customer wants. You need to know what is the requirements. And many times while we think that we have priced well, but then you don't know how the customer evaluates it, right? So this is super important before you get to the discussion of discounting. I'll skip that. So let's come to discounts then. Let's suppose you have walked in at a price of X, and your customer says, bullshit, this is not good, I want a Z. Now, hopefully you'll not come to Z, you'll come to somewhere in between, let's say Y. And how do you walk in, how do you go from a walk-in to X to your walk-away of Y with a smart and intelligent discounting structure and strategy is what discounts are all about. Now, the classic definition of discounts is there, but in reality, we should be super clear and precise of what is a discount. A discount is a deduction which you are forced to give on your value, your competitive advantage or your incumbency advantage, which you either did not have or you could not create. Or even if you have it or you created it, you could not quantify or communicate it to the customer, right? That is a discount. So you need to recognize that it is an offset. Now, to get into discounting, let me go to another video. Can you please play the video? Right, so everything which you need to know about discounting is actually somewhere in this video. And I'll explain why. So discounts are like fire. And especially now, like modern fires, with the current dynamics which we have, the modern kind of discounts create much more competitive heat. And the deal velocity today of negotiations is also high. So you do not have time to put your tactics as well as the handlines in place, just like the firefighters. And these two itself is already a super dangerous cocktail of circumstances. So now let's see, what can you do about it? The first thing is the size up. Remember, they actually go and visit the buildings well before the fire has actually happened. So you need to have a size up, and you need to not only look at what your partner or your customers or term sheet negotiators are showing you from the outside. You need to look at what is really inside their heads and deal, what we call a price berg. And the tactical approach, remember what the fire incident commander said, and I really love this. Their approach is, what have I got, where is it going, and how do I stop it, right? Simple and intuitive. Wherever you have a discount, just think of these three sentences, right? What do I have, where is it going, and how do I stop it? And lastly, just like there are three sides of a fire triangle, there are exactly three sides of the discount triangle too. Right? So the amount of discount which you give is just like the fuel which is inside the building. And many times you can't do anything about it. That's because you have not positioned your value. Right? If you haven't positioned your value, you should not be giving discounts unless it's tactical by design that you want to walk in at a higher price and then walk away at the price that you close. But let's assume you want to give a 10 million discount or a 20 million discount, and I'll say just for a moment that I don't care. But even if whatever discount you need to give, you can actually cut off those discounts using discount categories, which is just like the heat, or using terms and conditions or English, just like oxygen. And I'll explain in a moment how. There are 3,000 papers in the Professional Pricing Society on pricing and discounting. We have gone through in the last many years over many of them. And there are hundreds of ways of giving discounts. But then just at a high level, let's start with the red discounts, which is a discount to survive. Right? These are the discounts in which you do not have the contractual right to stop them. They always propagate. The right is with the customer. That's how you have set it up in the contract. So for instance, take a unconditional LSD or a lump sum discount. If you give a 10% LSD on 10 million, unconditional LSD, the next time you put an offer on the table of 10 million, the customer already starts with 9. And then since you gave the 10% unconditional with no attached caveats to it, the deal is already 8.1, which is 10% on the 9, even before you have moved your finger. Right? So if you give a 10 million here, it actually ends up with anywhere between minus 70, 60, or 50. Right? If you take the light red, there are similar discounts. I'll not go into the construct of those, but then buy X, get Y free. There are certain caveats attached to it so that they don't propagate that much, right? It's lesser than the red discounts. But let's look at the top, the green discounts. You're given the same 10 million, but let's assume you are giving a discount to seed a market, like a trial to buy or a POC. And the customer has an obligation that if the trial is successful, then he will have to buy at a certain rate, right? So you're giving the same 10 million discount, but there's a revenue attached to it. So your business case will depend on that additional revenue. The light green are again somewhere in between, but you have a one-off trigger discount or a buy X, get Y free, then they don't get that much of an additional revenue. It entirely depends on how you construct them. And then yellow ones are somewhere in between. And by the way, this is not just B2B. Most of the companies have used these discounts really effectively. The red ones, when low-cost airlines came in, all the wide-bodied or the normal airlines had to give an unconditional discount, right? But then they did. The low-cost airlines could cut off the scope, right? So the seating, the food, the lounge, etc. They could, but then these guys could not, and that ended up with a red discount. If you take a green one, Tesla is a great example. Electric cars are highly competitive, but then they did not initially give a discount on the cars itself. What did they do? They actually spent money in putting up charging stations near coffee shops because it takes time to charge, right? So that is an example of a green discount. So the same discount which you are giving, the same 10 million, depending on how you give that discount, what categories is it, it can either end up down 60, 70 million, the yellow ones will be flat, and the green ones will recover, right? So how you give the discount can actually matter. And by the way, the swing between this is almost 900%. So that's the first category. So we talked about the discount categories. Again, I'm assuming that it's always 10 million that you have failed to position your value. Now let's look at the oxygen part of it, right? How can you cut off discounts using oxygen? Let me take just one type of discount. I take the D14, which is unconditional lump sum discount. If I have to give a 5% discount, year-on-year discount, then this is the baseline. By the way, this is an actual case, and most cases are similar. Now, let's suppose I add one word to it, hardware. Why should I give a discount on software, its people, or even services, right? Salaries don't go down, they go up. So if I put one word to it, which is hardware, my impact of discount is 35% less, right? By the way, this is a Nokia example, but you can apply it anywhere. Let's suppose I add one more word of it, Nokia hardware discount, or your company's hardware discount. Why should I give a discount on third-party hardware? I don't know what I can negotiate with them in 2 to 3 years. That is a 50% less discount. If I add two more words to it, which is starting from year 3, I can give a discount when I see the volumes, right? So this is already in November. By the time you close the contract, you give me POs or the volume start flowing in, it will already be year 3, right? That is 75% less. If I put the words reset with the next generation, this is a box which I am offering right now. When I have a new box, I don't have scale at this point of time. It's a new product. Why should I give the same discount? So you cut off the discount completely, right? This is a 95% lesser discount on the same 10 million which you were giving before. So English is super important, and the terms and conditions on how you give the discounts. So to summarize, the first one, know your discounts thoroughly. The worst way of giving a discount if you don't even know that you have given a discount. You must put conditions on these discounts. Never ever give anything without a condition. You need to make sure that you have to put conditions. Link the discounts with one-off event. There are many times when people are used to giving discounts as lump sum or executive discount. Well, if you give an executive discount, the executive will always be there later on when you sign the next deal, so there's no point. But if you give a one-off, which is a market entry discount or a one-off event discount, then you can actually cut it off. Fourth, vouchers are not discounts. And it's super important to differentiate between vouchers and discounts. Vouchers are like airline miles, right? You first need to fly, pay them, and then you get those miles. And out of that, you are getting a voucher, right? There are multiple ways of constructing vouchers. I'll not go into it right now, but it drives a different set of revenue, and hence you're not giving a discount on your current business case. There are other tactics, I'll not go into it. Slow tiered volume discount is also a type of an optical discount where you ladder the discount. So if the customer is asking for 10%, and you ladder it to be more, the curve should be more on the right-hand side, then the effective discount is literally 2 or 3%, right? And by the way, he may not even reach that ladder. Sixth, discounts should not be an answer to a penalty or a mistake. If you have goofed up, then it's better to put a penalty because you will recover out of that, right? Why do we give a full discount on something on which I goof up for one time, right? It's better to put a penalty or even an LD on, but not a discount. And the last one, which is important, discounts must solve a pain on your side, right? There should be a quid pro quo. You're giving something, you must get something in return too. Right? That's it from my side. Let's have the questions during the lunch. Happy to answer all the questions. Okay, thank you.